The most influential figures in music history aren't always the ones with platinum records. Some artists reshaped entire genres, pioneered revolutionary techniques, and influenced generations of musicians, all while remaining largely outside the mainstream spotlight. This show is brought to you by the Series of Thoughts team as part of their musical studies series. This video is a journey through hidden influence, exploring 4 categories: production pioneers, genre architects, cultural visionaries, and lasting legacies. We'll see why influence often outlasts fame. First, we look at the studio visionary who revolutionized how music is created. Brian Eno, the architect of ambient and modern production, transformed how we think about sound. He pioneered ambient music and developed the philosophy of the, quote, studio as instrument, treating recording technology as a creative medium. Eno's invisible empire of influence is vast. He transformed U2's Sonic Evolution, co-produced David Bowie's groundbreaking Berlin trilogy, and shaped Coldplay's ambitious sound. Almost every electronic and experimental producer today stands on the foundations he built. Next, we examine the rhythm architect, a beatmaker who fundamentally altered the DNA of an entire genre. Dilla, the beatmaker who rewired hip-hop rhythm, developed the quote, Dilla feel. This was a revolutionary, humanized approach to drum programming that placed hits slightly off the grid. His 2006 album Donuts is considered one of the most influential hip-hop albums ever made. The ripple effect of Dilla's innovation is clear. He defined the neo-soul sound for artists like Erykah Badu and D'Angelo, and his production technique influenced countless beatmakers globally, extending beyond hip-hop into electronic music. Now let's travel back in time to meet the original rocker. Sister Rosetta Tharpe, the godmother of rock and roll, blended sacred gospel with a driving rhythm and distorted electric guitar in the 1930s and 40s. Her music, like Strange Things Happening Every Day, is recognized as a blueprint for rock and roll decades before the genre officially existed. She built the blueprint for rock. Elvis Presley, Chuck Berry, and Johnny Cash all cited Tharpe's electric guitar work and genre-blending vision as foundational influences. Her contributions were only recently recognized by history. Our next visionary is the genre alchemist, an artist whose work defied categorization and whose influence was only fully realized posthumously. Arthur Russell was a genre-blurring visionary who fused disco, classical, folk, and avant-garde experimentation in 1970s and 80s New York. His genius was his refusal to recognize genre boundaries, creating dance floor hits and delicate chamber music simultaneously. Russell's work was too far ahead of its time. After his passing in 1992, he left behind hundreds of unreleased recordings. Since his rediscovery began in 2004, he has achieved cult hero status, becoming a foundational influence for modern indie electronic artists. Next, let's explore the electronic enigma, who pushed machine music into deeply emotional and complex territory. Aphex Twin, the quiet godfather of modern electronic music, transformed electronic music from dance fodder into complex art. His use of custom software and idiosyncratic techniques made machines sound emotional, influencing multiple electronic genres like IDM and glitch. Aphex Twin's invisible influence is vast. He inspired Radiohead's electronic turn on Kid A, pioneered aggressive, glitchy production techniques foundational to modern bass music, and established the blueprint for intelligent dance music. Now we look at the art pop prophet, an innovator whose unconventional vision influenced generations of female artists. Kate Bush, long before her recent viral success, was the underground queen of theatrical, experimental pop. She pioneered an approach that was literary and dramatic, becoming one of the first female artists to engineer her own recordings and maintain complete creative control. Her influence, the Bush blueprint, shaped Bjork's experimental pop, Florence Welch's dramatic grandeur, and Lorde's introspective alt-pop. Her dedication to artistic vision over commercial demands set the standard for unconventional artists. We return to the bluesmith, whose few recordings built the DNA of rock music. Robert Johnson, the bluesman who built rock's DNA, recorded only 29 songs in 1936 and 1937. His intricate guitar work combined rhythm and lead, establishing chord progressions and riffs that would define rock music for generations. The legend surrounding him speaks to his advanced technique. Johnson's impact is immeasurable. Eric Clapton called him the most important blues musician ever, and both Keith Richards and Led Zeppelin drew directly from his compositions. His fame came decades after his death, during the 1960s blues revival. Next up is the electronic pioneer, who invented techniques for synthesis before the tools even existed. Delia Derbyshire, the hidden pioneer of electronic music, created the original Doctor Who theme in 1963 without synthesizers. She used painstaking tape editing, speed manipulation, and splicing to create rhythms and melodies, essentially inventing sampling and electronic sound design decades early. Derbyshire's technical innovations involved recording source material, transforming it via tape manipulation and filtering, and physically editing tape by hand to create complex multi-track compositions. Her work laid the groundwork for modern electronic production. We now explore the cosmic explorer who took jazz and African-American culture into outer space. Sun Ra, the Afrofuturist who reimagined jazz, claimed to be from Saturn. He blended free jazz, early synthesizers, and ancient Egyptian imagery, leading his orchestra in performances that were part concert, part ritual. He created the vision of Afrofuturism decades before the term existed. Sun Ra's multidimensional legacy includes pioneering Afrofuturism, pushing free jazz into experimental territory, and early electronic jazz fusion. His cosmic mythology offered a framework for Black imagination beyond earthly constraints. Finally, we consider the Beautiful Failure, a band whose low sales figures belied their massive cultural impact. The Velvet Underground's 1967 debut sold only about 30,000 copies, a commercial flop. Yet, as Brian Eno famously said, everyone who bought the album started a band. Their dark, minimalist, and confrontational music was a blueprint for artistic, non-commercial rock. The Velvet Underground's revolutionary impact provided the foundation for punk rock, influencing bands like the Ramones and Patti Smith. They established the alternative music blueprint and the indie ethos, proving influence can outweigh sales. These musicians matter because they were genre architects who chose influence over fame. Operating outside commercial pressures allowed them creative freedom, resulting in revolutionary work that often received delayed recognition. The true measure of impact is clear. They reshaped genres, influenced mainstream legends, and pioneered techniques later adopted by the industry. They prove that true cultural significance is not measured by chart success. The legacy of the unsung reminds us that music history's most important chapters are often written by those working outside the spotlight. These artists changed everything, proving that innovation thrives when creative vision is prioritized over commercial viability. We are still catching up to their vision.